Somebody has stolen your identity. Contact Consumer Protection at 1-800-300-1986.
No one has a handbook for what we're living through today, which is why the experience you have access to makes all the difference in how you make it to tomorrow. For decades, Dakota Bank has worked with ag producers through industry, economic, and regional changes. We're committed to agriculture. We're committed to the producers and families that make our communities great. Go with commitment, experience, and integrity. Dakota Bank, banking, insurance, mortgage, and trust. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Insurance and trust not FDIC insured.
In the past, if you needed auto body repair, you had to get multiple estimates and then try to get your car into a shop for repair. Well, not anymore. In most cases, you can stop by one shop, get your estimate, and schedule your car for a repair. The question now becomes which shop you choose. If you like quality, choose J&J Truck and Auto Body. They have ASE, PPG, and Gold iCar certifications that allow them to offer you a nationwide warranty. And they'll work with your insurance company so you're pleased with the outcome. J&J Truck and Auto Body, 1513 East Philadelphia.
Good Fun Radio presents Did You Know? Hey, did you know that in Japan it's good luck if a sumo wrestler makes your baby cry? Sad, but true. But if you're lucky enough to have this happen to you and your baby, put that luck to use. The South Dakota Lottery has 5 different lotto games with millions in prizes. There's a new drawing every day that could change your life, because good fun comes to those who play. And now you know. Good fun. Must be 18 to play. Please play responsibly. Does anyone know a sumo wrestler and a baby?
KIMM Rapid City and K294BT Rapid City, the Black Hills Sports Station, 106.7 FM and 1150 AM. Fox Sports Rapid City.
New York Jets are trading receiver Mecole Hardman back to the Kansas City Chiefs for a swap of late-round draft picks. Hardman played the first 4 seasons of his career with the Chiefs before signing with the Jets in March. Raiders quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo not practicing today because of a back injury. Buffalo Bills QB Josh Allen limited in practice today due to a right shoulder injury. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson did not practice today, said his status for Sunday's game at Indianapolis is up in the air. Colts rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson will have season-ending surgery to repair his right shoulder. The Arizona Cardinals designated quarterback Kyler Murray to return from the physically unable to perform list. Miami Dolphins cornerback Jalen Ramsey returned to practice today less than 3 months after tearing his meniscus in training camp. Ramsey was originally expected to be out until December. I'm Isaac Long.
Welcome to the Nate Brown Show on Fox Sports Rapid City. Here's your host, Nate Brown.
All right, here we are on a Wednesday. How are you, everybody? Midweek, ready to roll? It's always a great day in the Black Hills. Yes, the Nate Brown Show live, Fox Sports Rapid City. Welcome in. A little windy in the Black Hills. A little bit windy. Hang on to your hat. We're good to go. South Dakota Sports Talk Show back, 106.7 FM, 1150 AM on the Black Hills coverage area, 5 states strong on 1150 AM. If you get out of range, you're driving across the state, wherever you're at, bring us up, foxsportsrapidcity.com. Live stream us there, weekdays 4 to 6. We are live, the Nate Brown Show at foxsportsrapidcity.com. A lot of ways you can be a part of the show. Interact with us on Twitter, X, at Nate Brown Show. We're live streaming there in studio. Welcome in at Nate Brown Show on Twitter. If you're not following us, welcome in some new followers across the state we got last night. That's good stuff. Also on YouTube, The Nate Brown Show. Find the YouTube channel, subscribe to our show, and you've got us live and archived there on YouTube, The Nate Brown Show. South Dakota Sports Talk Show, 2 hours. Great guest lineup. We'll get to it. We are brought to you in part by Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center, taking care of the weekend warrior like you and I to the elite athlete. If you suffer a serious injury, don't let it keep you out of the game. Get back and continue your active lifestyle with the expert team at Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. Learn more at bhosc.com. Better access, more options. Great team at Black Hills Ortho, helping you stay in the game, specializing in what moves you. Online at bhosc.com. If you suffer an injury, see the experts here in the Black Hills at Black Hills Ortho. The Wednesday show looks great. Let's give you the guest lineup. Let's get to it. And, boy, we ruffled some feathers last night, I think, a little bit across the state. A lot of people in agreement on this, though. And I think it's an important thing to continue to discuss. And so I'm going to start my show with it coming up. But let's take a look at the guest lineup. We'll go national with Brian Noe tonight. Countdown to kickoff host from Fox Sports Radio. He's live from South Bend. Brian Noe on tonight. Matthew Collar in from the Twin Cities. We will talk Vikings with PurpleInsider.com. Matthew Collar straight ahead. I want to talk college sports, name, image, and likeness, and some Huskers with Gary Sharp, longtime broadcaster, 1620 The Zone, Omaha, Nebraska. Gary's going to pop on. Scott Burt's going to join us live from Iowa. Rapid City Rush kick off the season tomorrow night on the road at Iowa. We've got Coach Scott Burt on. Let's get a preview tonight with the Rapid City Rush head coach, Scott Burt, straight ahead. And for the first time tonight, we've got the editor-in-chief of Colorado Preps. So he's a really good guy covering the Colorado high school scene. Why are we going there? Well, they're doing something in Colorado that South Dakota is discussing right now for high school football. And we've got Dan Mormon on tonight. Dan Mormon, editor-in-chief, ColoradoPreps.com, live from Denver. That's coming up. Wednesday show looks good, so hang on. New content each time out. If you missed some of the show live, go to the Nate Brown Show podcast. A reminder, every show right there, you can download it, and you've got us. If you're joining us live right now, you want to be part of the conversation, you can get in. 720-1067 is our number. 720-1067, the studio line. Barron's Wilson text line, same number. Direct text the show, 720-1067, the Barron's Wilson text line. Okay, that's knocked out. Let's get going. So here's what happened last night. If you missed the 5 o'clock hour, sometimes maybe listen right now at 4:05. We start off with different things, local, national, sometimes try and get the thought-provoking stuff on the air first. We had an interview last night in the Drive at 5 with Dan Sortos of the Activities Association in Pierre. So he's the executive director, South Dakota High School Activities Association, and I had him on for one main topic. I've been discussing this on this show with various people, from media folks to coaches, over the past month or two. And it's about the high school football landscape here in the state. Some of you maybe are plugged in on this. Some of you may be looking at it on the periphery, kind of on the outside looking in. Maybe you've had players that have come through already. Maybe you're getting ready to have players that are coming through, coming up. And it's very important to look at, where is Rapid City Stevens and Rapid City Central going in the high school football landscape? Where are these programs at? We've discussed various things with how they can improve and what's important and how you have to do all sorts of factors that have led to some losing seasons over and over and over. There's all sorts of factors. So we've had that discussion. What we haven't discussed enough is, will there be a change in the structure of how we classify high school football teams? Does there need to be a change in structure? I'm on the record saying here on the program numerous times now, I think it's time to change the structure of how we classify high school football teams. You're going to see it tomorrow night. For example, first round of the playoffs for the small schools and nine-man, there's going to be blowout central tomorrow. There is going to be blowout city tomorrow. You're going to see it. Our first round of the playoffs, a lot of times these are joke games. Whether it's 11B, whether it's 9-man, or then the next week, we're going to have the big schools, AA, AAA, and there's going to be blowouts. I mean, these are the playoffs. You're supposed to have good competitive games for the most part, unless you have a really elite team and a bad team. That should happen every now and then. But in the playoffs in high school football, you should have pretty good teams and pretty competitive games. We have so many classes of high school football here in the state. There should be pretty competitive games and a lot of parity. We have so many classes, everybody should be good to go tomorrow, right? You're going to see blowout city. And what I mean by that is we have dominant teams. And then we have a chunk of teams that aren't even in the same competition playing field. They're in the same class because we only look at enrollment. The male enrollment determines how good of a football team you're going to have. And that's the old way of thinking. I think it's the wrong way of thinking. So I talked to Dan Swartos on this show last night, and you can find it if you follow us on Twitter at Nate Brown Show. We've got it up there, about a 7-minute stretch of how he discussed what they are discussing now in Pierre. And they had a meeting yesterday. And so here's what they're discussing. Do we need to look at a formula that takes into account how many struggles a program has had? Do we need a specific formula to take a look and say, Rapid City Central has lost. Are they even in the same playing field in AAA with a Sioux Falls Lincoln? Not even close. Well, you're going to say, well, they got to get better. They just have to get better. The losing seasons and the losing culture over the years has been a major downer for the numbers of that program. There's kids that are over there. They aren't coming out for football. That school doesn't have a male enrollment problem. They have a male football problem. Just because you have a bunch of males at your school doesn't mean you're going to have a bunch of males out for a program, especially when we've seen some of these results, which have been tough on these kids. There's some kids that are putting in a lot of work at Central and Stevens. They're putting in a lot of work. It's just not working. And so the numbers are down. That starts with the depth chart being a major struggle. And so would we give Rapid City Central and Douglas in AA, for example, maybe a Sturgis, I don't know, would we give them a chance if they've struggled and not won this many games over a 4-year cycle, a chance to move down, petition down, and play more competitive games against teams of like talent, of close to roster numbers, close. The Activities Association had a meeting on it yesterday, their committee. Classification. Do we need to change the formula? I think it's a great start. They're going to discuss it again. It has to be enrollment as a benchmark. That's a benchmark. Hey, here it is. Enrollment. We've got to kind of have a structure here, a benchmark. And now, who has had success, who has not? What makes sense just with your eyes? Just tell me, can Douglas play against Pierre and Yankton and Watertown? They cannot right now. It's nothing against Douglas. It's a unique situation. It's a tough situation. The eyeball test, they can't play with those teams right now. They should be able to move down based on the lack of success for a long time. Thanks for calling. You're live today, and you go ahead.
Hey, Nate. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. What's up?
Good. This kind of gets thrown out every once in a while, and don't just poo-poo it right out the gate, okay? I think high school sports are really in the best position to be able to do this, actually, because, like you say, there is like AAA and AA and like levels within those levels. Mm-hmm. So like European soccer, the way they do relegation, so like the bottom two teams of a class would go down a class, and the top two teams from a class would go up a class. That would, like, those teams that really can't compete in the league they're in, go down a league. That might be where you're home. Like, even if you have a huge amount of students in general in enrollment, maybe they're just not. It's not a football town. So,
Correct. Yes.
So yeah, if you base it on performance rather than enrollment, I think in high school at least, I think that's a better system.
I'm not going to poo-poo it. I love it. I actually love that. Now, I think enrollment's probably still a factor. We got to take a look here. We can't have, Rapid City Central playing Hot Springs, something like that, okay? But just down a level. That's all.
Yeah. And I mean, really, if Rapid City Central had 5 people out for football, like, why wouldn't you play Hot Springs? Because that's the level of people.
I get it.
So,
I get it.
Yeah.
All
Anyway,
right, buddy.
that's my 2 cents. Have a
Thanks,
good
man.
one.
I appreciate it. Good stuff from McJudgerson. No, that's what caught the attention last night. We posted the interview on Twitter last night, and this news flash that the Activities Association is actually going to move forward with more discussion on this, not just allowing teams to say, hey, we're not doing very good, we want to move down. It's got to be a specific formula. Have you won less than 25% of your games over a 4-year cycle, for example? Hey, we haven't won any games, less than 25%. We haven't made the playoffs. We haven't won any playoff games, for example. Why wouldn't we allow those teams to revive their program? Get some excitement. Can Rapid City Central play a Mitchell instead of a Sioux Falls Lincoln? Well, of course that makes sense. Of course that makes sense. Can these teams play different opponents based on their competitive level through some years and some data that we're able to see? The Activities Association Executive Director Dan Sorto said last night they had the meeting on it yesterday. They're going to have another meeting, and he hopes to have something to the board of directors to look at. That's a big step. By the way, we said, I think it's like over 36,000 people saw this. We can see the analytics on our interview and our story last night. And a lot of people are saying, this is time to do this. It can't just be enrollment anymore. Can we get football programs built up because they actually win some games? I believe you can. Some people say, well, you're 0-9, you're just 0-9. Nothing you can do about it. No, there is something you can do about it. The teams that are winning, like Pierre, the Pierre Governors got to move down when we created this new class because nobody could compete at a high level. We created this new class 10 years ago. And Pierre's been in the state championship 8 out of the 10 years in their new class. Pierre has been in the state championship 8 out of 10 years of this new classification system where teams like Yankton, Pierre couldn't compete. Well, boy, all of a sudden now they're competing. Thanks for calling. You're live today, and you go ahead.
You get a free TV, you get a free TV, and you get a free TV.
Now, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
Well,
Pierre? Or
they
who?
they need to just combine the AA, AAA. Let's quit it.
Okay, you're on to something. Okay, I'm not
All
going to
right,
totally...
Let me tell you something. Do you remember a guy named Dave Remington?
Yes.
Okay, he played alongside. These guys all went to college. Tommy Miller, Rick Pesic, God, there's a ton of them. A couple of them ended up at Nebraska. John Sherlock was one. South High hasn't had a winning season since 1979, I think, or 80. Omaha Benson. I don't think they've been relevant since the 90s. Why are we catering? Some kids, everybody practices. Everybody gets the same amount of days. Some are better than others.
Here's the thing. Douglas has about 30 kids on their roster. They got about 30 guys, and they're supposed to play against Aberdeen Central. They're supposed to play those teams. Pierre and T. Erie, which T, it's exploding. I'm not buying it.
Well, T, they schedule the big schools all the time.
Well, they don't have to play a full
T
slate.
beat O'Gorman last year.
Yeah, they don't have to play a full slate, though. You know that. They'll schedule one class.
Well, the girls' soccer and boys' soccer teams do. Shoot, I think they played all the Sioux Falls, Watertown. They played all them big schools for soccer.
So you don't believe...
You don't have to... T didn't win a game. T did not win a single game. They tied one. But I think they were like 1-4-0 against the AA schools. And they were state champions. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because they're in the right class in soccer. That's the difference. And
No, them games were tight. We played Lincoln way better than you guys did. Please stop.
Rapid City Central
Nate.
football should not. They're not going to catch up to Sioux Falls, Lincoln, Roosevelt. You know that. You know that.
Well, Nate, too bad.
That's it.
What, do we do this with every sport then?
No. Football's a different beast. And it's
Why
all
is it a
about
different beast? I guess
numbers.
I'm
It's about
confused.
depth chart. It's about getting enough players on a roster. You got to have 1s, 2s, and some 3s. You got to have numbers. You got to have it.
You got to have kids. And here's the deal. You talked about it yesterday, and I've been saying this for years with our football. Look how many coaches we've had in the last 15, 20 years with our high school.
No, I get
that
it. That's a
works in
factor.
Nebraska.
Yeah, that's a factor. I get
That's
it.
a huge factor.
All right, buddy.
It's a huge factor.
I don't know if you and I will agree on it. That's okay.
No,
it's all right.
we never will, but what
All
the
right.
heck, man.
All right.
Have a good one,
Thanks
buddy.
for getting in. 720-1067 is our number. The Nate Brown Show off and running. Let's see. Listener text 720-1067. I don't know if Sioux Falls will allow the Rapid City schools to go down a class because they know that those games against Rapid City are going to be easy wins. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's interesting you say that. As I've been talking about this, and I talked to Dan Swartos last night, I'm hearing nothing from Sioux Falls. Literally, like we get people to interact with us from across the state. I'm hearing nothing from Sioux Falls. Like, yeah, maybe if teams are really struggling, they should go down a level. It only makes sense to have participation numbers at a higher level. I want kids to play. There's not enough kids playing at Central. There's not enough kids playing at Douglas. Okay, I just point those two out. Those are the classic examples of why we have to use enrollment as a benchmark, not the end-all, be-all. What does your history of your program look like the last 4 years? States do this. Colorado does it. I'm going to have the Colorado high school sports writer on tonight to discuss how it works. Dan Mormon's coming up from Colorado Preps. Thanks for calling. You're live, and you go ahead.
Well, hey, Nate, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good. What do you say?
So, well, Rapid City definitely has the data to prove we could go down as far as football goes. And then I do like your idea. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I did like the idea, I don't know who it was you had on last week, where if you go down, you can't play state.
Oh,
I didn't think that was such a bad idea. I don't know who you had on that, like these bigger schools, because it gives you a chance to rebuild, right? And then you weren't going to go to state anyways in the upper levels if you were going to get beat, upon like where Rapid City Central and Stevens is right now. You're not going to state anyway. So if you drop down a level, you go down. But
I want to give them a chance. I want to give them a chance.
I thought it was a pretty cool idea. And then I got thinking,
a compromise.
Yeah, right. Softball around here, girls softball, and when you go and you win a state title in the lower division, you automatically move up. You don't get a choice. You go up to the next level. So if you win C, you go to B. You win B, you go to A. So, I mean, there is, it doesn't matter what size town and things like so it does happen. So, I mean, I do like where you're headed with this. I do hope it goes through.
It's not out of left field. Yeah.
No.
Right.
I mean, we got to do something. We got to let our programs get these kids out of the stinking hallways, and if they have a chance to know they're going to win some games,
yes,
why not?
It's winning.
I mean,
winning does make a difference. I mean, maybe it's only 4 wins. I don't know what it is.
Well, but at least get on track and then get these kids out again, and then maybe you put a program together, and then in the future you go back up how it's designed to work if it does it right.
Right.
So good luck with it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm gonna keep up this conversation because I do think it matters. The Activities Association is talking about it. They just met yesterday. Their committee on classification met yesterday. They're going to meet again, and I think it's got to go far enough to get a serious discussion at the board of directors level. There's programs that are dwindling. I mean, they're on life support. They are on life support. And if you give them a chance to play like opponents, where it's just not a mismatch, I mean, it's just over, that I believe is better for high school football fans, for programs, for schools, for kids participating. Thanks for calling. We'll do one more. Thanks for calling. You're live, and you go ahead.
Hey, Nate, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. What do you think?
Well, I'm afraid if we don't do this soon, I mean, if I'm a Sioux Falls school or East River school, I'm going to start telling the activity association, why should I drive 700 miles to win a game 65-0 when I can go to Minnesota or Iowa and drive half the distance and have a much more competitive game? It's not doing my team any good to come out here or have them come to Sioux Falls. And
they probably like me. Better yet, does it make sense for Central and Stevens to spend all of this money to go back there 3 times a year? Does it make sense?
Right. And then they got to turn around after they're all beat up, get right back on the bus and get home in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense. I'm not saying take Sioux Falls totally off the schedule. We got to go back there 3-4 times. Why not play Sturgis here? Why not play Spearfish here? I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, what good if I'm the team doing the beating? What good is it for me to play a team like Central? You know, or
yeah, I know what you mean.
Team like
I know
Douglas,
what you mean. Yep.
You know, so I'd be looking at the activity association in that regard too, and saying, hey, you know, we need more competitive games. You know, why don't we let us play teams on a more regional basis that are more of our ability, and you know, it's less expensive for us to travel to a closer distance. And
I got you on
we get
that.
a more competitive game.
They got plenty of teams around that area to play. They do.
That's right.
All right.
Righty.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So the thing is non-competitive football is no fun for anybody. Because people say, well, why is this always a football discussion? Why not other sports? Football is a numbers game. You have to have a depth chart there. You have to have feeders, okay? You've got to have health from the middle school all the way to the freshman, sophomore. We can't lose these players after freshman and sophomore years anymore. You go and look at Central and Stevens, you look at the numbers they have in freshmen, and then you go back and you look sophomore, junior, senior. Where do they go? I mean, there's a drop-off. I've seen the numbers. I've talked to them. They come in and it's, oh, yeah, we used to win in Black Hills Youth Football League, and everybody's excited. Then all of a sudden, we lose them from freshman / sophomore area. They're gone. So non-competitive football, I believe, is to blame for that. Non-competitive football is bad for everybody. We're spending money to make numerous trips across the state. It's a mess when we can play teams right around here. Why could Central and Stevens not play Sturgis and Spearfish every year? Somebody tell me that. I don't get that one. I mean, it just all makes sense if you look at the big picture, putting them in a more competitive environment, building the program up, and then you start building for competitiveness at a higher level. It's not happening right now. There has to be another answer besides enrollment. The enrollment piece is nothing. That enrollment piece has zero to do with who's good in football. Just look at it yourself. Pierre's not the biggest AA school. The Pierre Governors are not the biggest AA school. And they've been to the state championship 8 out of 10 years. They're not the biggest school. The biggest schools are not dominating. The enrollment piece is not the factor. It's a success factor or lack thereof that we have to look at. And I think the Activities Association is making some good moves and discussions to try and keep this moving forward. Because the classification cycle, it's coming up, okay? So we're looking at where should teams go, and I really hope we give some of our area teams a better shot to build their program. Brian Noe is on as we get going on a Wednesday, countdown to kickoff host with Fox Sports Radio. Brian Noe on live.
Did you miss an interview or great segment on The Nate Brown Show? Just find The Nate Brown Show podcast and listen wherever you download your podcasts.
At Gateway Autoplex, we strive to give you the best car buying experience in the Black Hills. We offer a hassle-free, worry-free environment, and we've made it easy to get pre-approved in minutes by going to gatewayapproves.com or stop in and we can help you through the process right there.
So check us out at 410 North Campbell Street or 123 Omaha. 2 great locations serving you in the Black Hills.
See for yourself why our customers say we have the funnest buying experience in Rapid City.
Gateway Autoplex, where nobody, and I mean nobody,
beats a Gateway deal.
Here's your Fox Sports Rapid City forecast. Mainly clear tonight with a low of 48. Winds out of the west 8 to 15 miles per hour. Highs around 76. Tomorrow, sunny skies and calm. Clear skies again. Tomorrow night, lows dip down to about 52. Dry with temperatures a bit above average Friday and Saturday, and highs from the upper 60s to the upper 70s. That's your forecast on the Black Hills Sports Station, Fox Sports Rapid City. Currently, it's 62.
The temps are cooling down, but at Tin Lizzy, we're heating things up with a grand prize giveaway this month that'll make you sweat. This is Jonathan, and we have an exciting grand prize this month for our $100,000 Easy Street giveaway from the Pool and Spa Center. Every Saturday night through October 21st, you have a chance to win a personal home sauna at Tin Lizzy Gaming Resort. Try the newest and most exciting slot games in Deadwood at TL. It's the $100,000 Easy Street giveaway at Tin Lizzy, where we're taking Deadwood to the next level.
Hi, folks. Kevin McPherson, McPherson Auction Company. This week we are conducting a large 2-day classic car auction. Now, this auction will be live and online, simulcast bidding available. The auction is absolute, no reserve on the vehicles. We're selling approximately 250 of some of the finest classic cars. Very desirable units for Jim's Auto Salvage at Sturgis, South Dakota. Now, the auction will start 9:30 both days, 9:30 Thursday and Friday. If you're unable to attend and want to bid online, go to McPhersonAuction.com.
For 84 years, Palms Tire Service has been providing best-in-class service and value. We have grown to over 200 locations and are one of a few service providers that buy tires manufacturer direct. We are proud to pass those savings on to you, our customers. Snow is right around the corner. So are we with huge tire savings. Through October 31st, get up to $240 in rebates on Goodyear, up to $230 in rebates on Hankook, up to $200 in rebates on Bridgestone, or up to $190 in rebates on Firestone. See store for details or visit PalmsTire.com.
Hi, this is Shane Griffin. I'm part of the Will Dixon real estate team. I know what it's like looking for a new home or your family's first home in the Black Hills. That's why I specialize in helping the first-time home buyer make their dream of home ownership a reality. I'm also a veteran, and I'm proud to serve military members in the Black Hills. Our team at Will Dixon Real Estate has great relationships with local lenders. Whether you're looking at buying or selling, just Google Shane Griffin Keller Williams. That's Shane Griffin at Keller Williams to take your first step into your new home.
Hey, this is Rob Parker from The Odd Couple. Don't miss our show weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. right here on Fox Sports Rapid City. And now we'll send you back to Rapid City Sports Talk Show, The Nate Brown Show.
All right, welcome in on a Wednesday. We're just getting started. The Nate Brown Show live, Fox Sports Rapid City, 4 to 6. 106.7 FM, 1150 AM, FoxSportsRapidCity.com. A lot of ways you can listen. Good stuff. Talk Gary Sharp tonight from Omaha, Huskers and college sports. I want to get into this hearing that the Senate had yesterday. You know how I said we got to have probably federal legislation when this is all said and done to even the playing field for name, image, and likeness? Like every state's doing their own thing. That doesn't really work when you're at a competitive level in college sports. I might have shifted after yesterday's Senate hearing on if I want federal legislation. These guys are clueless. All right, I'll get to that. Brian Noe's in right now. Countdown to kickoff. Fox Sports Radio. Brian, good to have you on, man. How are you?
I'm good, Nate. Always good to be with you, man. I got to tell you, so the last time you had me on, I stepped outside of a hibachi restaurant and talked to you. And guess what I'm doing tonight? I stepped outside a different hibachi restaurant to talk some ball with you. What are the odds?
I love it. Well, I mean, with your pay and with your level, hibachi's every night. It's every night, man. I love hibachi. Okay, let me get to this. You're in South Bend. You're a Notre Dame, guy. So you know Notre Dame. Notre Dame beats USC handily. Caleb Williams has his worst game of the year. Is this Caleb Williams? He's going to be the elite of the elite quarterbacks once he gets to the NFL. Are we still in on that? Or, you look at a game like that and you go, oh, boy, maybe just a bad game, but is this guy going to light up the Patriots?
Well, I think that he's still the best prospect coming out of the draft, but that doesn't mean he can't miss. I think both things can be true where he's an elite prospect, but again, that's like it's almost like marriage in a way, where you're getting married and you're like, I'm pretty sure things going to work out, and then you're like, oh gosh, it didn't quite work out. It can work like that with prospects as well, where I look at his traits, I look at his creativity. He's such a creative player. But what he needs to do a better job of is adding more structure. If you look at a guy like Mahomes, he's always compared to Mahomes. Mahomes is so creative. He makes a lot of things happen that only he can make happen. But what he also does, what's really underrated, a big part of his game, is he plays with a lot of structure. He plays with a lot of, okay, this is a 5-step drop, get the ball out. He does that a lot. And yet it's not going to lead SportsCenter. You see the creativity, but with Caleb Williams, he's doing so much just unstructured stuff that it's to the point where it's like he just needs more structure as an NFL quarterback. He can get away with a lot of that in college, but it's going to be different in the NFL. So I think he's got to add that to his game, but the tools are there. The creativity largely is a good thing. I think he's an elite prospect. I don't know that he's going to be an elite quarterback, but he's definitely an elite prospect right now.
Okay, Caleb Williams, I don't know what to believe anymore. And so I was seeing this pop the last couple of days that there was, he may want an ownership stake in whatever team selects him. Then he'll come out from USC. He may want an ownership stake. I don't know what to believe. That sounds goofy, but it came from Pro Football Talk. And also I'm going, what are we doing here? Did you see that?
That's crazy. Like, there's no way any prospect is ever going to get that. Again, you've got to talk about, like Mahomes, a proven guy who's won a couple of Super Bowls. And if he wanted that, there's a discussion there. I don't even know if he'd get it at that point as a proven NFL player. But as a prospect, nobody is getting that ever. You've got to prove yourself in the NFL, not just against Pac-12 teams and Notre Dame, which didn't go great on Saturday. You got to do a lot more than just ball out in college. You got to do that in the NFL, and then we could talk ownership stake. But there is zero chance that will ever happen, even when it comes to an elite guy like Caleb Williams as a prospect. Never going to happen.
Do you believe somebody floated that out there in his camp, or is it bogus? What do you believe?
Oh, I think someone could have floated it out there, and I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to get as much as you can get. I don't think that's an issue, but, I mean, look, just do the math on that one. Do you think that, let's just take a team. Let's say the Bears are up there at number 1 overall, and they say, you know what, we're going to go with Caleb Williams. We've had enough of this Justin Fields experiment. And Caleb Williams says, well, hey, Bears, unless you give me an ownership stake, I'm going to stay at USC. Do you really think they would cave and be like, oh, okay? Like, I don't buy that at all. Because they could be sitting there in the same position the next year. So there's no chance he gets that. No way.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay, let's go to the Broncos, Brian. No. My Broncos are facing the Packers. The Broncos are 1-5. I was told, people are reaching out to me on Twitter. I love that. Anyway, people are reaching out. They said, Nate, what's your deal, man? Why are you so opposed to a complete rebuild? You could be sitting back at the number 3 pick in the draft, and you could get Drake May, and they tell me my world's going to be solved. It's going to be the best thing ever. Drake May's going to be the quarterback for the Broncos, and we're supposed to just love this. I don't want to rebuild. Am I in the wrong?
I think you are, Nate, because it reminds me of, I was saying the same thing with Russell Wilson in Seattle. And this is when Russell Wilson was playing great football. And I said, look, if you've got a chance, let's just suspend reality for a second. If you were able to trade Russell Wilson to Jacksonville, he had a no trade, he never would have accepted it. But let's just say he did. You were able to trade him to Jacksonville, and you could get that number 1 overall pick and draft Trevor Lawrence. You'd have to do that. And there are a lot of people at the time that are like, you're crazy. Russell Wilson is a fantastic quarterback. And I'm like, you're right, he is. But he's also 10 years older than Trevor Lawrence. So I would have done it back then with Seattle if it could have been done. So to get that number 1 pick and get Trevor Lawrence. So, yeah, with Russell Wilson playing the way he is, and subtly, Nate, he's playing pretty good football. His numbers are pretty solid. It's just the defense sucks. It's brutal. But, yeah, if I could get a top-of-the-line prospect like Drake May, I know I have to eat a ton of cash. I'd still do it. I would still do it, and I would start fresh.
Oh, boy. That could be legitimate, by the way, and I just don't know if I'm ready for that. Brian Noe's on tonight, Countdown to Kickoff host on Fox Sports Radio. When I look across the league, who's the best team now? Is it still the 49ers, even though they got clipped?
I don't know, man. I still with Brock Purdy. Isn't it crazy how it worked out, Nate, where all of a sudden Christian McCaffrey gets nicked up a little bit, and Deebo Samuel's banged up, and Trent Williams a little bit dinged up, and wow, Brock Purdy didn't have a great game. It's weird how that worked out. So I just still don't trust the guy. I'm not telling you he's incapable. I am telling you I don't trust him yet because he's won a bunch of regular season games. I think he's a less good-looking Jimmy G. That's what I've thought this whole time is you can win a bunch of regular season games with Purdy, but when he has to make a special throw in a special game, I'm not sure that he's going to be able to do that. So with all that being said, if you look at some other teams like my Dolphins, I like Tua more. Tua is a better playmaker. It's just a health question mark with Tua. And then you also think about the Eagles are still a tough team. So, yeah, there are talented teams up there. I think that the Niners are right there in the mix. They've got a loaded roster. I am just not a big believer in Purdy until he proves me wrong.
Not super high on the Niners. You're high. You're not super high on the Niners. You're super high on Hibachi, and he's going back to it. Let's put him into it. Dinner time. Brian Noe on tonight. Brian, always good, man. Thanks a lot.
Always great chatting with you, Nate. What do? Do I go cheesecake? I haven't sampled hibachi desserts. I'm not sure if you have a recommendation for me.
No dessert. I never do dessert at hibachi. No dessert.
Done. No dessert for me either.
Thanks, buddy. Good stuff. I like hibachi. I like that. Man, we're paying our guests too much if they're doing hibachi every week. I mean, it's like the Pat McAfee $1 million payment to Aaron Rodgers. You get to be doing hibachi every week. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Brian Noe on tonight, Fox Sports Radio host. He hosts Countdown to Kickoff here on Saturdays and Sundays on Fox Sports Rapid City. So, am I getting to that category? Am I starting to see the writing on the wall? Do I have to be a realist with my Denver Broncos? Is Russell Wilson? Are we seeing the final days of Russell Wilson? Are you serious? And I'm supposed to be excited about Drake May? Oh, yeah. Drake May from North Carolina. He's going to be so good. He is? Okay. Good luck. Matthew Collar's in next. How about the Vikings? They're in a competitive rebuild. Would you say that? PurpleInsider.com. We have to talk Vikings with Matthew Collar on the way.
You're listening to The Nate Brown Show. Follow us and watch the show live on Twitter at Nate Brown Show.
October is Renewal by Anderson's United Against Cancer campaign, and when Renewal offered to pay for employees' radon testing and mitigation, several Renewal team members found radon in their homes. Deb was one of them, and she always wondered how she got breast cancer. Radon causes cancer. It's linked to Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. Radon is a killer.
People don't know about radon. They don't know what a killer it is, and they don't know how cheap it is to have it tested.
From all of us at Renewal by Anderson, please get a radon test now. It could save your life.
We are number one. So you can always be their number one. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number one hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
Rapid City. Get ready for the most adrenaline-pumping event of the year. Ultimate Derby presents the Gold Rush Nationals live from Summit Arena November 1st to the 4th. Drivers from across North America and Canada are converging to compete for the National Championship of Demolition Derby. Witness 4 days of chaos and destruction as these daredevils push their cars to the limit. Tickets are on sale now at themonument.live. Gold Rush Nationals, where destruction meets destiny.
Your best deal on a professional-grade GMC is here at Spearfish GMC. Select new 2023 Sierra 1500 models now feature up to $6,000 cash back. That's $2,750 consumer cash, $750 bonus cash, and an additional $2,500 with a qualified trade-in. But inventory is limited, so don't wait to take advantage of these exceptional offers. Spearfish GMC Cadillac. Online at spearfishmotors.com.
Hey sports fans, it's Rob from the Firehouse Skybox, inviting you to make us your home for the NFL this season. We really wanted Rapid City to have a premier sports bar with great service and great food, and that's why we started the Skybox. We have 35 big screens, we'll show every NFL game all season long. Plus we'll have great specials for you to join us on Monday nights, Thursday nights, and all day, of course, on Sunday. The Skybox has the best food and the best experience for NFL football. Check us out on game days, and we look forward to serving you at the Skybox above the Firehouse in downtown Rapid City.
The high school football regular season wraps up Thursday with the Rapid City rivalry on Fox Sports Rapid City. The Rapid City Central Cobblers and the Rapid City Stevens Raiders continue to fight for a playoff spot as they battle Thursday at O'Hara Stadium. Join Dean Gurren and Jerome Wickersham for all the action, beginning with the pregame show at 5:45 and the kickoff at 6. The Cobblers meet the Raiders in the Rapid City rivalry Thursday, right here on Fox Sports Rapid City.
Live from the Anytime Auto Sales Service and Details Studio. Sales, service, and recreation. This is Fox Sports Rapid City.
Welcome back in the Nate Brown Show, South Dakota Sports Talk Show, live on Fox Sports Rapid City. Great guest lineup coming up. We're trying to get to everybody here. High school, college, NFL, good stuff across the board. We got Rapid City Rush hockey season opener tomorrow on the road at Iowa. Scott Burt joins us live on the road, the head coach of the Rapid City Rush. We'll talk to Scott Burt tonight on Fox Sports Rapid City. Let's go to Matthew Collar, Vikings writer, his site, purpleinsider.com. He's on Twitter at Matthew Collar, and he's here on the Nate Brown Show talking Vikings at 2-4. Matthew, good to have you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Looking forward to this matchup against San Francisco, of which absolutely nobody is picking the Vikings. So I'm kind of interested to see how that goes.
I am too. San Francisco gets clipped, so we'll get to that. What did you think of the win against the Bears? What jumped out to you? What was your overall breakdown of it?
I was sad that I spent my time flying to Chicago, driving to the stadium to watch that football game. I mean, it was truly one of the worst football games I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, the ball was bouncing all over the place, fumbles, sacks, interceptions. Justin Fields was as bad as I've ever seen a quarterback play. Not that Kirk Cousins was great, but the Vikings kept dropping the ball every time they seemed to have a chance to get a big play. It was kind of a mess. I mean, I guess if you're trying to spin it on the positive way, the Vikings defense is much improved from last year when they let every quarterback in existence throw all over them. So that was not the case this year so far. But, that was very much a, survive and your season stays alive. But absolutely nobody was convinced that group that just ran out there last week is all of a sudden going to have a magical turnaround to make the playoffs.
Okay, so you say these aren't playoff teams. The Vikings, they aren't a playoff team. But the defense to you, how much better are they? Will that matter here in some of these games? Packers, Bears again, 49ers.
Yeah, I think that what it shows is the defensive coordinator is one of the most valuable people in an NFL organization, because last year the Vikings had a lot more talent on defense. They had Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, Eric Kendricks, Patrick Peterson. These are all pro level players who all left, and they've replaced them with Caleb Evans and Jonathan Bullard. Some guys that most of your audience may not have even heard of, Ivan Pace Jr., and yet they are much more effective. And look, it hasn't been perfect. Philadelphia ran all over them on national TV. Justin Herbert had a huge game, completed 40 passes in a win. But at the same time, it is a much more competent defense, and it is coached much better. All of their numbers across the board are better than they were last year, and that, to me, directly equates to Brian Flores' style. He is playing the most unique defense in the entire NFL. They are sending more than 4 guys almost 60% of the time, which is completely unheard of. The league average is around 30% of the time, so he's sending double the pressures that other teams run, and you saw how confused Justin Fields is. And, sometimes that does result in big plays against, but I think he's really maximized the talent that he has. We've seen him use kind of a hybrid player in Josh Metellus, who caused a big play the other day, and he's gotten a lot out of, Danielle Hunter has been huge for them once again. So I think that he gives them a chance every week to cause a couple turnovers, get some sacks, make some plays on the opposing offense, that if their offense is what it's supposed to be, they should be winning. It's just that I think the offense has not lived up to the expectations, and then their first test without Justin Jefferson was absolutely miserable, which does not give you a whole lot of belief that they can now play one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Okay, do you think Jordan Addison can be the real deal?
I think Jordan Addison is the real deal, but if you're asking Jordan Addison to be Justin Jefferson, that's not fair. That's like asking Jake Reed to be Randy Moss. Jake Reed was a really good NFL wide receiver, great, but he was not Randy Moss. And what we're looking at with Justin Jefferson is somebody who is in the echelon of the all-time great receivers at this point through his career, whereas Jordan Addison is a rookie. He still has a lot to learn. What we see is him getting open. He's making plays. We've seen him catch some deep balls. We've seen him catch some touchdowns, quick underneath stuff, and he can get open. But what I also saw was on 3rd and 12 the other day, 2 Chicago Bears blanketing Jordan Addison and daring the Vikings to beat them with Brandon Powell, who is stepping into their 3rd receiver spot. And the Vikings are rooted in playing 3 wide receivers, and they might not have the personnel to really rely on one guy to take the attention and have other people beat them. And if Jordan Addison is the second guy to Justin Jefferson, it's tremendous. If he's the only guy, that's not great. And that's why they signed T.J. Hockenson to a huge contract. And as of right now, he hasn't come close to living up to what the expectations were. He was supposed to be one of the guys who guided the offense. And, he had a couple catches last week, but also dropped a beautiful pass by Kirk Cousins that would have been a big first down for them, and he's had a lot of problems with drops. So I think that they're struggling to find other people who can separate one-on-one. Addison can do it, but other teams are not going to give him a lot of one-on-one opportunities with Jefferson out.
PurpleInsider.com is the site covering the Vikings. It's Matthew Coller on tonight, Fox Sports Rapid City. Vikings 49ers, Matthew. So 49ers get beat by the Browns. Backup quarterback with the Browns. So what do you say about the Vikings' chances Monday night?
I think the Browns' defense is way, way, way more talented than the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings gave the Browns 2 of their best players from last year in Tomlinson and Zadarius Smith. I don't think there's any comparing the two. I mean, Flores is doing a lot with what he has. Marcus Davenport is now out, so that leaves them a little bit shorthanded. There's a lot of inexperience in the secondary, which you certainly get concerned about all the motions and the different looks and the play actions that Kyle Shanahan is going to dial up. And I think that also, you've got a great defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz there who's making the most out of them. They have Myles Garrett, who might be the best defensive player in the league. Like, that is two different universes of what we're talking about. I don't believe the Vikings should be more confident because Cleveland was able to do that. But I also think that, they're not flawless. I mean, we saw that Brock Purdy is capable of having a down day, although he still put them in position to make a 41-yard field goal and win that game. But on paper, this game is really nowhere close, and the only thing the Vikings have to hope for is that some of the banged-up players like Trent Williams or Christian McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel are not at 100%, because this is a team in San Francisco that is loaded from top to bottom. They rank at the top of every category in offense and defense. They are a Super Bowl-looking team, and the Vikings are a 2-4 team that's talking about, well, we've had some bad fumble luck and, excuses like that, but this one is going to take a lot of things going the Vikings' way in order for them to have a chance.
So Vikings are 2-4, Matthew. Jefferson's out for an extended period here, but he looks like he can come back. Coach said, he's not going to be out the rest of the year. So how do you deal with him? When he comes back, you just roll full steam ahead?
Yeah, he's going to play. I mean, I think that, of course, Adam Schefter tweeting some stuff out about this made a lot of noise. But, Justin Jefferson's contract situation is not actually abnormal from guys who are drafted in the first round. Like, you look at Nick Bosa, this last year, he sat out some of training camp, then he signed an extension, and that's the same situation Jefferson will be in next year going into his fifth-year option year. I think that Jefferson is just such a prominent player that this starts to be talked about. But it was even unusual to be talking to him about an extension before the fifth year of his contract or the fourth year had been completed anyway. And with Jefferson, I mean, he took every single rep in training camp. He's played his heart out so far at the beginning of the year. Even if they are, 1% chance to make the playoffs, he's going to come out and do everything he can. I mean, this is not a guy who's any sort of diva or anything like that. Farthest thing from that with Justin Jefferson. But also, he's a guy that wants to be the all-time receiving record holder. I mean, that's his goal. So he's not going to skip games and pretend he's hurt on the sideline while he's missing opportunities to go out there and catch passes and put up yards and chase records. So I don't see any chance that he sits out any longer than he has to. But they also, too, have to be smart with him because hamstrings can be a long-term thing. So they have to balance that he's going to want to come back as soon as he can with worries about, making sure that doesn't become a long-term thing.
Vikings 49ers Monday Night Football, purpleinsider.com for the coverage from Matthew Collar. Matthew, always good. Thanks for hopping on.
Yep, thanks for having me, Nate.
Thanks a lot. Matthew Collar, purpleinsider.com. Vikings fans, hit it there. He's live from the Twin Cities. Vikings are really interesting to me. Not great by any means, not the Broncos. I mean, I've told you that. I've admitted that. Vikings are better situation than the Broncos by far. I mean, by far. Yet they feel like, this doesn't feel like a team that can make a run. So they're in that limbo spot. My question is, what are you guys going to do if this is Kirk Cousins last year? What are the Vikings going to do then? It's like, we'll just get a rookie quarterback. Well, what if they finish 8-9? This is right in the middle of the pack, 7-10. It's going to be easier said than done. Vikings in that competitive rebuild, big quarterback questions moving forward. The Kirk Cousins years, I believe, have been really good offensively. Many people have told me not good enough. He doesn't take you to the next level. He's also played with some historic bad defenses last couple of years. Bad Defenses. And I know how that goes as a Broncos fan right now. Well, Russell Wilson, it's all Russell's fault. Not quite. Not quite. And it wasn't all Kirk's fault either. Vikings 49ers, Monday Night Football. I like it. Gary Sharp's on the way. Let's go to Omaha, Nebraska. He covers the Huskers, 1620 The Zone from Omaha. I also want to get into the Senate hearing. The U.S. Senate had hearings on name, image, and likeness and college sports yesterday. And I am going to shift my attitude and my thoughts with these guys being in charge of anything. Next.
From high school to college to the pros, this is the Nate Brown Show on 106.7 FM and 1150 AM Fox Sports Rapid City.
What's the next best thing to a new Toyota? It's a certified pre-owned Toyota from Denny Mental Toyota. Shop a nice selection of certified pre-owned Toyotas in stock. It gets better. Right now, get financing as low as 5.49% APR for up to 60 months on Camrys, RAV4s, Corollas, Highlanders, and Tacomas. Shop the area's best selection of used Toyotas and Toyota certified pre-owned at Denny Mental Toyota or DennyMentalToyota.com. $19.10 per 1,000 finance regardless of down with qualified credit.
Here's your Fox Sports Rapid City forecast. Mainly clear tonight with a low of 48. Winds out of the west 8 to 15 miles per hour. Highs around 76. Tomorrow, sunny skies and calm. Clear skies again. Tomorrow night, lows dip down to about 52. Dry with temperatures a bit above average Friday and Saturday, and highs from the upper 60s to the upper 70s. That's your forecast on the Black Hills Sports Station, Fox Sports Rapid City. Currently, it's 62.
How many of you are making 5% APY on your free checking account? Yes, your checking account. Head on over to Highmark Credit Union and we'll make it happen. That's 5% on your checking account up to $10,000. Qualifications apply, but it's worth it. Whether you're looking for a high rate of return, cash back, or just basic checking, we'll make it happen. You can even get refunds on ATM withdrawal fees nationwide or a cool debit card featuring the Stevens Raiders or Central Cobblers. Learn more at highmarkfcu.com or stop by at any of our branches and earn big.
In the past, if you needed auto body repair, you had to get multiple estimates and then try to get your car into a shop for repair. Well, not anymore. In most cases, you can stop by one shop, get your estimate, and schedule your car for a repair. The question now becomes which shop you choose. If you like quality, choose J&J Truck and Auto Body. They have ASE, PPG, and Gold iCar certifications that allow them to offer you a nationwide warranty. And they'll work with your insurance company so you're pleased with the outcome. J&J Truck and Auto Body, 1513 East Philadelphia.
Need somewhere to go for a quick bite to eat for lunch? Murphy's has you covered with a half sandwich and soup lunch special, plus daily specials to get you fueled up and ready for the rest of the day. Meet and eat for lunch at Murphy's, a Rapid City icon.
Hi, it's Colin Coward. Great to be in the Black Hills. Getting the herd weekdays 10 to 1 on 106.7 FM and 1150 AM. Fox Sports Rapid City.
Welcome back in. South Dakota Sports Talk Show live weekdays 4 to 6. Glad you're checking in. However long you spend with us, we appreciate it on your way home. Maybe you're tuning in, finishing up work. It's 5 o'clock. Let's go. Get out the door. Let's go into your Wednesday evening. The Nate Brown Show, built by Consolidated Construction. When it comes to building projects, they understand they're complex. I mean, a lot of money and a lot of time. Consolidated Construction at Rapid City, they'll simplify the process. They're your advocate, guiding you through the funding, the design, the construction, staying within budget so you get the most for your investment. The best experience, quality from the start to finish with Consolidated Construction. Professional company born in the Dakotas, onecalltobuild.com. Start there, onecalltobuild.com. Gary Sharp from 1620 The Zone, Omaha. Well, we want to talk some Huskers, but I also want to get Gary's thoughts on the Senate hearing yesterday, just that overall picture. Senators talking about name, image, and likeness and talking to the NCAA president and the whole thing. Gary, good to get you, man. How are you?
Good evening, Nate.
I want to ask you about this right out of the gate. I once said this, Gary. I think it's going to take a federal law. I'm not a expert, but it felt like we're going to have to get a federal law here for name, image, and likeness because every state's doing their own thing, and some states are really loose. You can do whatever. The NCAA's tried reining it in to no avail. And I said, I think the federal law is going to have to come in if you want the same uniform across the board for college football, for example. I think we got to have that. So I've said that. And now here on this Wednesday, Gary, a little announcement for you. I watched that hearing. I'm looking at all the statements coming up from the senators. I go, oh, these guys are clueless. We can't have it. I don't think this is going to be, honestly, I don't put any trust in that. Where does this thing go? They've had 10 hearings and nothing.
Well, the last group that college athletics is Congress. I don't know. There's a lot more pressing things than what they're trying to do on also telling us our interest in college athletics, whether we like an athlete or not, just because they're a freshman and sophomore making a lot of money. Here's the deal with name, image, likeness, and you're absolutely right, Nate. It's kind of all across the board and state by state, but this is where we're headed with name, image, likeness, because the genie is out of the bottle, but they can start to put it back in, because I think you will start to see name, image, likeness. There will be a movement to bring it in-house, which means instead of Nebraska, for example, because name, image.
Do I still have you, Gary? Cutting out? Do I have you? Maybe. I hope. Are you with me? I'm going to give him another chance. Maybe. No?
Hey, you got me?
Oh, now I got you.
Oh.
You're clear.
Okay.
Okay. Rewind.
So Nebraska's name, image, likeness is a group called 1890. And they work separate from the athletic department. But what I think you're going to see a movement happen is those groups will come under the heading of the athletic departments. And the NCAA will step in, and that'll be the next movement, because there are some athletic departments that can't control their collectives, and their collectives work separately. How it works at Nebraska, actually, with football, because I know this firsthand, is everything starts with the football program. Like if Matt Rule says, hey, we have an offensive tackle named Walter Rouse who's interested in us in Oklahoma, he needs this amount, and we're willing to sign off on this amount, 1890, go get him. That's how it works. And in this case, it didn't work out so well. He ended up at Oklahoma. But I think they need to rein it in, because it is different state by state. And some collectives are better than others, but I think they're going to come under the heading of the athletic departments. And I will tell you, that'll make a lot of athletic directors really, really happy, because there are promises that are being made to kids that aren't followed through, and the athletic department has nothing to do with it. That's all about the collective. But the athletic department is the one that gets the slings and arrows.
Gary Sharp on from 1620 The Zone, Omaha, talking Huskers and this name, image, and likeness. A couple more on this. Trev Alberts was on this subcommittee, AD at Nebraska. Last week he had a meeting, and he talked about what you just said, like, hey, we got to look at having the schools being a part of this, meaning the NCAA's barred that. The schools can't do anything with name, image, and likeness. Do you think Trev's going to get that across the finish line, where now the schools can even basically help negotiate the deal?
Yeah, I think he is gaining more support, Nate, but it's going to be a difficult one, because there are some places that don't want to deal with their name, image, likeness, and they're like, hey, let them on the side and let them go wild, wild west and do whatever they do, and we'll reap the benefits of it. But I think Trev is smart. I think Trev's looking at big picture down the road, so this doesn't get completely out of hand, and it's just a colossal mess. Because I'm a firm believer in name, image, likeness, but there has to be some guardrails. And who would have thunk when the NCAA green-lighted this that they would not put any guardrails and we get to this point? I mean, come on. But I think that Trev's on the right path. It's just going to take, I think, a little bit longer than he would like to make sure that this is above board.
Okay, the Big Ten commissioner, last one, he said yesterday, we're concerned that the management of college athletics is shifting away from universities to these collectives. Do you believe that?
Yep, because they have a lot of power. I mean, if you want a particular player and that collective can come up with a large amount of money, they're going to go after them. Here's the other thing. Like, this is a scenario I brought up on my show, Nate, is Nebraska is redoing their stadium. It's celebrating this weekend its 100th anniversary, and they are going to take it into the next centuries by tearing down the South Stadium, and they have $450 million, which will rise above $600 before it's all said and done. of what they're going to do to the stadium. Well, they still have to raise some money. So, Nate, if I call you up and you get 2 phone calls from Nebraska. One is, hey, I know you've had tickets in the stadium for 35 years, and you know what? We're going to make sure that your seats are really, really comfy so they're not as tight as they are. Would you be willing to donate some money? And then the next call you're going to get is, hey, Nate, I know you're a big Nebraska fan. We got this offensive tackle, and we feel real good that we can reel him in. He's going to be an all Big Ten guy and help us next year. Which are you donating to? That's kind of the thing. You have the university that's trying to raise money, and then you have this collective that's trying to raise money that's going to benefit the football program, but they're completely separate.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Senators were saying all sorts of stuff yesterday, and I gave some of them a bad time. I mean, it's easy to do. You know, hard to root for kids when they're multimillionaires as freshmen and sophomores. That was a statement. I mean, that's goofy. That's goofy. I mean, what is that? Is that the old school guy saying, oh, we didn't ever have this, so nobody should have it?
Yeah, a little bit. But why do they have an interest? You know what? College football TV ratings and attendance are up this year. Why do they care? You know what? It's not ruining my enjoyment of the sport.
No,
you know what? And I want to talk about games right now. I don't want to talk about name, image, likeness in Congress. I want to talk about a great week, 8 slate of college football upcoming.
Yeah, it's something else. All right, so the Senate hearing, that's number 10. No legislation out of this yet. All right, Gary Sharpon, let's go to this. Nebraska's stretch here. It looks to me like this is the stretch where the W's need to happen. It was Illinois, bye week, Northwestern, Purdue. What do you feel here in this stretch?
They need to pull the old Jameis Winston and start eating some W's. They will never have a 6-game stretch, Nate, like they have now, where they're going to be favored in 4 of 6. And it started with Northern Illinois. It included Michigan, Illinois, Northwestern, then Purdue next week. And then you have Michigan State in the beginning of November, and Michigan State's on quit watch, after Mel Tucker is out there 0-4, and they've been beaten by 17 or more points on average, and they blew the game against Rutgers. So Nebraska's in a stretch here where not only, you start to think, man, could they be bowl eligible for the first time since 2016? Because all they need is 6, and they're 3 away with 6 to play. It's very, very manageable. And then you might start to get a little bit greedy and go, wow, I just watched the Big Ten West this weekend and Maryland, and our future opponents went 1-4. Iowa has a lot of issues, the same kind of issues that we have. Man, is it not only bowl eligible, Nate, but some people are willing to go there and go, gosh, could Nebraska with their formula win the West? Now, I'm not ready to go there. And Nebraska hasn't been above 500 7 games into the season since 2019. So you can't overlook Northwestern. And Northwestern is quite a story. They're 3-3. But people are starting to do the math. And it's setting up as an opportunity that Nebraska in 2023 can't waste. Because if you can get to a bowl game at 6 wins, man, that's a punch of a ticket of, man, we are ahead of schedule. But they have an opportunity here to get on a roll and use that Illinois game before the bye week as a catalyst to start stacking some victories before you go Maryland, Wisconsin, Iowa at the end of the year. Wouldn't it be crazy if Iowa comes into Lincoln on Black Friday with a chance to be 11-1, or even that game has a bearing on who's going to Indianapolis to get beat up by Michigan, Penn State, or Ohio State?
So I looked at it. I felt really good about the Illinois game going in, and then it was just ugly. I mean, it was an ugly win. Why do I get the feeling the Huskers kind of, we should beat Northwestern, and I go, I'm a little concerned about this one.
Yeah, it's 2 mediocre teams that have bowl implications, and Northwestern still has a chance to win the West, believe it or not, which is a credit to David Braun. I think the way Nebraska plays defensively, and Penn State, Northwestern came back against Minnesota. They were 10-10 for about 2.5 quarters with Penn State, and then Penn State outscored them 31-3. You look at their game against Howard, they couldn't block anybody. Nebraska's strength right now is getting to the quarterback and stopping the run. So I think those things bode well for Nebraska. Plus, Northwestern may be without their quarterback, Ben Bryant, who transferred from Cincinnati. That would probably be more of a harm to Nebraska than their Brendan Sullivan, who's a dual threat kind of guy. So the matchup plays pretty well for Nebraska. But get used to, we're embracing, Nate. We love the sickos. We love Big Ten West football. We are down in the muck. Kramer went and swam in the Hudson. We are swimming around here in Big Ten West football, and we absolutely love it. And everybody's got the same formula to try and win. They can't complete a forward pass. Right. They don't score many touchdowns. They have a great punter. They have great defense.
Yeah.
And you just hope to win a bunch of 15-6 games.
That's a good point, though. The Iowas, the Northwesterns. I mean, you're looking and going, well, Nebraska's got a good defense, too. Nebraska Northwestern coming up. 16:20 The Zone. He's on each morning in Omaha. Gary Sharp on tonight. Gary, good to have you. Thanks for hopping on.
Hey, thanks, Nate, as always.
Appreciate it. Gary Sharp on tonight. He's on 1620 The Zone from Omaha. Covers the Huskers. And we were talking name, image, and likeness here. So I think I've officially shifted. I was trying to be positive, upbeat. Like, okay, the smart play is to have a federal law that governs college sports in each state to keep name, image, and likeness sponsorships regulated and uniform for every program, right? This seems like logical. And then I was like, wait, I've been watching these Senate hearings. They had one yesterday. NCAA President Charlie Baker's up there and talking to all the senators and stuff. And these senators, they don't have a clue. And I'm not picking, I'm not saying, okay, I'm not going to make all the jokes tonight. But I'm talking about college sports. I mean, these guys are clueless. The stuff they were saying yesterday, some of them actually felt the name, image, and likeness came out of the Supreme Court. They said, well, this name, image, and likeness law and stuff came out of the Supreme Court. No, it didn't. It was the states who started it because the NCAA didn't do anything about it. The states started the name, image, and likeness laws, and then it went like wildfire. Didn't have anything to do with the Supreme Court. I mean, these guys are out to lunch, and we're going to rely on this senator and that senator to be plugged in on college football and kind of get the whole thing. I mean, you're going to end up with, well, we have a group of senators that want to make every college athlete an employee. We got to make them an employee. That's the only way to do it. And guess what? Division II, FCS, some of these programs, they just won't have college sports anymore. It's like, if you think an employee of a university, yeah, we're going to make the Division II football players at South Dakota Mines and Black Hill State employees. They just won't have football anymore. They don't make a bunch of money like the big boys. So I'm looking at it. People are going to, well, we got to do the employee thing. And then other people are going, well, these kids shouldn't be making any money anyway. It's just like, oh, the circus. Let's go to the... And it's just a great time when the Senate gets involved in sports. They've done 12 hearings. I think I have this right. 12 hearings, 10 pieces of legislation that they've thrown around, and 0 votes. I mean, nothing's happened. 0. So I just wonder why we keep going back to this. Well, I've shifted. I think we just got to just roll with what we have now. It's not the end of the world. Let's the universities get involved with the deals, with the name, image, and likeness, so they're not separate from the collectives. Let's have everybody plugged in there, communicating, so there's not shenanigans going on. Let's let the university regulate it. That's all I got. I don't want to hear Lindsey Graham and Joe Manchin, be clueless. Okay. That's enough on that. Into the drive at 5 tonight. 5 questions from Chris. Oh, yes, I've been waiting for this. Our loyal listener, Chris, sent me 5. I've got 5 answers for 5 questions from Chris. And the big question of the day, would you do this in South Dakota high school football? Do you want to do this? I've asked the question. We'll give you the answer on the way.
You're listening to The Nate Brown Show.
The Rush are counting down the days until opening weekend, and we're ready to pack the house for a Red Out. Join us Friday, October 27th and Saturday, October 28th for opening weekend against Kansas City. Opening night is presented by Denny Menholm Auto Group. The night features a pregame party in the concourse at 6 p.m. and a rally towel giveaway courtesy of Denny Menholm. Magnet schedules will also be available at the door courtesy of Stuart Martin Real Estate. The 28th game will feature a special post-game autograph session. Rapid City Rush, raised on red. Tickets at rapidcityrush.com.
For more than 100 years, Kidde has been a leader in home safety, helping you protect what matters most. October is Fire Safety Month. From smoke and carbon monoxide alarms to fire extinguishers and more, Kidde Home Safety products keep your family protected in case of emergencies. Get a 10-year, worry-free battery-powered smoke alarm for $19.97 after 11% off. Good through October 22nd, savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
KIMM Rapid City and K294BT Rapid City, the Black Hills Sports Station, 106.7 FM and 1150 AM, Fox Sports Rapid City.
Cadillac Jacks is proud to present The Book, the newly renovated sports book at Cadillac Jacks Gaming Resort. Powered by BetMGM, The Book offers every wager allowed under South Dakota law. Bring your friends and grab a luxury cedar party table and surround yourself with brand new giant TVs playing all the NFL and college football games you want to see. Order your favorite brews and cocktails and enjoy delicious food from the new Guadalajara's Mexican restaurant. Experience The Book at Cadillac Jacks Gaming Resort. How will your bets pay out?
Danny Menholt Rapid Chevrolet is looking for a few experienced service technicians to join our team. We have immediate openings, and we're offering top-of-the-market per-hour pay and performance bonuses. Plus, you get paid training, paid time off, a matching 401k, and health, dental, and vision insurance. Join us, and you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment and state-of-the-art facilities. Apply in person to Jeremiah Jackson at Danny Menholt Rapid Chevrolet or apply on Indeed.com.
This isn't just the sound of a legendary Brunswick pool table. It's the sound of families about to make memories together. And while this may sound like the hum of a spa, listen closely, and you'll hear backyard fun for years to come. So while Splash City's guarantee of quality sure sounds good, we know quality time sounds even better.
Who wants another burger?
Splash City, 1024 West Omaha, across from Connects in Rapid City.
Hi, this is Dan Patrick. Remember to catch me weekday mornings from 7 until 10 a.m. right here on 106.7 FM and 1150 a.m. Fox Sports Rapid City. And now, back to Rapid City's sports talk show, The Nate Brown Show.
All right, welcome back in. The Nate Brown Show live, Fox Sports Rapid City, your sports, your show. The Nate Brown Show brought to you by Spearfish Motors, your locally owned new car and truck dealership in Spearfish, 1910 North Main. Take a look. The home of the GMC Sierra. Brand new. Also, the new GMC Hummer EV. It's there. The Escalade. All the Cadillac models. Full line of new GMCs and Cadillacs at Spearfish GMC Cadillac. Online at spearfishmotors.com. Not very many locally owned new car and truck dealerships left. That's one of them. Spearfishmotors.com. Dan Mormon's coming up. He's the editor-in-chief for Colorado Preps. Now, why am I talking to Dan? We've been talking about high school football, and I think the changes that we should make, just not enrollment deciding which teams are in what class. That's all we've used. We say if you have a big enrollment of males, you're going to have a good football program. It's just outdated. States have made changes. One of them is Colorado. So Colorado has enrollment as a piece and then a success factor formula. And teams move up and they move down based on great success or we haven't won any games, we haven't won any playoff games, and we get to move down at a competitive level. And I think it would help a lot of our West River programs get numbers out, get kids excited, get kids participating, have coaches stay with longevity, and build a program. A lot of these games are over before they started. I've seen this for years, and you guys have too. So Dan Mormon's coming up. He's with Colorado Preps, and I want to discuss how Colorado does it. They do this model of what I would love to see here. Okay, I asked the question of the day, and I'm going to get to that. First, I want to get to the question, or first I want to get to this one here. South Dakota high school football. Also, there's people that think we should change the whole scenario, like we have too many classes, okay? And that's been talked about. We have 7 classes now. So we've had 7 classes for 10 years now. We've created this new class with the Pierce and Yanktons and Mitchells, Douglas is in there, Sturgis. That ESD class was created. So we've got 7, 4 11-man, 3 9-man. We've been on the verge of saying, hey, we maybe should tweak this. I'm a big believer in adding the success factor in, but also I think we have to change the number of classes. 9-man football, we've got 3 classes. That's going to go to 2 is what it looks like. We've got 61 9-man teams. And if that number has fallen under 64 for 2 years in a row in the cycle, we're going to go to 2 9-man classes. So I think we're on the verge of a change there. Some of the 9-man teams that you guys listing out in some of the small communities may not like that. Hey, this is going to be really tough now. And yes, it will be tougher for some of these 9-man schools to have to compete with more teams now just going 2 classes. But I also say this. If we're going to have 9-man go 2 classes, why should we have 11-man stay with 4? Let's have the 11-man schools go to 3 like we used to. AA, A, and B. If we're going to make the 9-man schools do it, hey, we're going to too many classes in 9-man football, let's tweak that. I believe the 11-man should go to 3 as well. Then we'd be to 5 classes. 3 11-man, 2 9-man. I think that's workable. What do you say about that? Should you go to 3 11-man classes and 2 9-man? That's one big change I think should happen. The other massive change is changing how we classify teams based on not just enrollment, but the success or lack thereof of their program over a 4-year cycle, so to speak. Here's the question answer. 73% say, yes, that's what we need. 73% of the audience goes, they want to go 3 11-man classes, 2 9-man classes. 27% say no, the bigger schools will dominate more. Some reaction on this. Should we go to 3 11-man classes and 2 9-man classes, high school football? Yes, but go to 8-man football instead. Maybe add a 6-man class. Yeah, I'm not going to go 8-man. We'll keep it 9-man. We'll keep it 9-man, but should we have a 6-man football class? Do I have to get Matt Kearney in here on a Wednesday? Matt Kearney, the 6-man crusade? Honestly, though, some of the small towns that hardly have any players, that 6-man football is legitimate. It's legitimate. How many would you have? Well, you'd have to make some of the smaller 9B schools. They're going to have to now move up. Would you offer to them, hey, you guys can play 6-man, otherwise you're going to be in this 9B class that just got a lot harder. You can play 6-man. The Newells, some of these, is it 6-man time? That's a hot button issue because, oh, we don't want to play 6-man football. Yet I know some people say, I'd rather have a football program than not one at all. And that is a possibility in some of these small towns in South Dakota, which have gotten smaller. So 6-man football, they talked about it a few years ago. It didn't get as far as it needed to. It was talked about a lot. Do we have to put that in the scenario? I think you have to look at it if you're going to look at classes anyway. So, hey, if you're really going to take a hard look at maybe eliminating a 9-man class, which I think they're going to do, and then I think you should eliminate 11-man. You should combine some teams in there. There's too many 11-man classes, too. I think you got to think about a 6-man opportunity for some of the small communities. Could Edgemont come back, play football, 6-man? Probably. All right, 73% of you say you should go 3 11-man classes, 2 9-man. Listener text, if they're going to eliminate a 9-man division, they should definitely combine an 11-man class. Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Listener text, you need a 6-man class here in South Dakota. Listener text, hey, was that Kearney? No, it wasn't. Okay. He's winning people over. Dan Mormon's on next. Before we get to 5 questions from Chris coming up, Dan Mormon, editor-in-chief for Colorado Preps. So in Colorado, they move teams up and down based on the struggle. What has it done for programs? Colorado Preps editor-in-chief Dan Mormon next.
Hi, this is Dan Patrick. Remember to catch me weekday mornings from 7 until 10 a.m. right here on 106.7 FM and 1150 a.m. Fox Sports Rapid City. And now, back to Rapid City's sports talk show, The Nate Brown Show. Nate?
October is Renewal by Anderson's United Against Cancer campaign, and when Renewal offered to pay for employees' radon testing and mitigation, several Renewal team members found radon in their homes. Deb was one of them, and she always wondered how she got breast cancer. Radon causes cancer. It's linked to Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. Radon is a killer.
People don't know about radon. They don't know what a killer it is, and they don't know how cheap it is to have it tested.
From all of us at Renewal by Anderson, please get a radon test now. It could save your life.
We are number one. So you can always be their number one. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number one hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
Hi, this is David Brenneman with Coldwell Banker in Rapid City. If you considered selling your current home, let me take you to that next step with confidence. The Black Hills housing market is competitive, and I have been in the business of attracting buyers for 15 years. Let's make it happen. Contact me, David Brenneman, at 415-0044. List it, sell it, and move on. With me, David Brenneman, at 415-0044.
We're all going somewhere. Going higher, faster, farther. Going in new directions, to new places. At Monument Health, we keep going so you can keep going. We're dedicated to advanced orthopedic care with the latest innovations, technology, expertise, and treatment. So keep exploring, keep making memories, keep going with Monument Health as your partner. Learn more at monument.health/orthopedics.
Building projects can be complex. The risks are great and time is money. Consolidated Construction of Rapid City simplifies the process by being your advocate, guiding you through funding, design, and construction. They manage the players and the schedule and marry the design to your budget so you get the most for your investment. They promise an energizing experience before, during, and after construction. It's not enough that you get a quality building. They pledge you'll experience quality every step of the way. Consolidated Construction. OneCallToBuild.com.
Live from the Anytime Auto Sales Service and Details Studio. Sales, service, and recreation. This is Fox Sports Rapid City.
Hey, welcome back in the Nate Brown Show on a Wednesday in the Drive at 5. Brought to you by Summit Automotive Group. Pre-owned vehicles at Summit. Great selection. Car buying built around you. SummitAutoGRP.com. Start there. Take a look. When it comes to pre-owned, Stacy and Matt, you get you the right financing, the right vehicle, none of the high-pressure sales gimmicky stuff at some of these pre-owned lots. Summit's the place. Professional, courteous. They get you the right finance and the right vehicle. The Summit difference. SummitAutoGRP.com for your next pre-owned search. Dan Mormon's on. Editor-in-Chief, ColoradoPreps.com. Good stuff. He's with Mile High Sports as well. We do some good stuff with Mile High Sports. We haven't talked Colorado high school football. It's like, wait, hang on a second. What's going on? Well, here's the deal. We've had a big discussion about South Dakota high school football classes, how some of our teams here in Rapid City in this Black Hills area are really struggling for many years. It's time to change the model of just not going by enrollment only. There's got to be a formula. If you haven't won less than 20% of your games, you haven't made the playoffs, you haven't won any playoffs games for years, how do we revive programs and get kids out? Colorado has a formula. They have a system where I think they're moving teams up, teams down. Dan Mormon on ColoradoPreps.com, his site. Dan, good to have you on. How are you?
I'm doing good, Nate. I mean, I don't know if it's really a formula or a system as much as it is actually an appeals process. Enrollment, it's the same, I feel like, across the board in the country, where enrollment is kind of the determining factor for classifications in a lot of the sports. What you just said, though, is music to my ears. We've got to figure out something else.
Okay,
it's got to,
So enrollment's the benchmark, right? Enrollment's the benchmark. And I believe that. I mean, you can't have massive schools take on little schools. So we do it with average daily membership of males. But I'm convinced, Dan, that just because you have a bunch of males at your school, I mean, they don't take into account athletics or anything. It's just male numbers. They say, well, your football team should be good. That can't be the answer.
No, I mean, we live in such a data-driven world at this point. How are you not able to get participation numbers? One thing that the Colorado High School Activities Association, the governing body out here, one factor that they really look into, and I don't know if they utilize it enough as some of the members of the organization would like, but free and reduced lunch, because that kind of gives you an idea of, your different socio-demographics in each school and who's more likely to thrive in that aspect. I think now that you have sites like Max Preps where you can go back and find years of history, past success, development of programs, all that, I mean, this is all data that's readily available to us. We're still just waiting for someone to figure out how to put it all together.
Okay, so Dan Mormon on his site, ColoradoPreps.com. I was told Colorado, teams that lost, struggle, can move down a class. And you say, well, it's an appeals process. Do they go school by school there?
Yeah, so it's funny. I got to be careful about how I tell this story because I have friends in that CHSAA office. I found myself basically sitting in a meeting with a lot of the commissioners. It was at a state championship event last winter. And I used to work in that media department, so these are all, former colleagues, friends of mine. They didn't really mind that I'm sitting there, but they were getting basically the classification organization committee, we call it CLOC out here, basically throws out where schools are going to be classified based on their enrollment. And then your school will get your list, and then if, let's say you have a football program that has been struggling for so many years and you're not going to have a prayer if you're in Class 5A, which is our highest classification, you can appeal to the CHSAA office that says, hey, we've been 0-10 for 3 straight years. We really need to do something so we don't have to shut this program down altogether. Okay. Can we go down to a 4A? Can we go down to a 3A? And the commissioners will look at all the factors, kind of those things that I talked about, like free and reduced lunch, participation numbers, all that, and they'll make the most informed decision that they can.
Okay.
And it does happen where schools will be put in lower classes. That process has changed over the years. The one example that comes to mind for me, and if cut me off if I'm rambling to you, but Coronado, which is a school based in the Colorado Springs area, for years their program was just struggling, and they eventually appealed and got moved down from 4A to 3A. Well, then they started getting numbers, they started seeing success, and then lo and behold, they won, I think it was the 2013 3A state championship. And the second they won that state championship, CHSAA said, all right, you're going back to where your enrollment.
Okay, so you can promote them and you can relegate them essentially. And I'm actually okay with it. I have a tough time. I want to be careful, Dan, with, hey, if I've got a school that isn't that big and they're winning, do I make them go up? I guess I'm not opposed to it, but I would be careful with that.
Yeah, and I look at a program out here, Lyman, the Badgers out in Lyman, Colorado. This is the school that has won the most high school football championships in the state's history, and they're going to win another one this year, and they're in Class 1A, which is our lowest classification that plays 11-man football. And I've seen this team play so many times. I'm very familiar with their coach, Mike O'Dwyer. this is a program that would probably win the 2A state championship if they were placed in 2A. Where the problem comes in, and I would imagine it's the same in South Dakota, is there aren't a lot of 2A teams that are feasibly near them that you can put them in a league that wouldn't cost that school a ton of money based on travel.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Yeah. That's a factor, too. Geography. Right. Okay, so this is interesting. Somebody told me on my show, hey, this should just be a school-by-school thing. It shouldn't be a formula. It should be a school-by-school thing. Hey, this school's really, really struggled. You appeal, and the board, you say your classification board essentially says, yeah, you guys can go down. So that's how you guys do it in Colorado. We can't do it here that way. It's enrollment, end of story. You can petition to go up, Dan. So, hey, we've been really good, and we don't want to play down, so we want to go up. There's a few schools that do that. My point is, shouldn't there be a model? Hey, I've won less than 25% over 4 years. I haven't made the playoffs. Isn't that how, instead of going school by school, or do you think it works down there?
You know, I'm a guy that's really in favor of overhauling the entire classification system, and it's not because I think that I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. There's no perfect system that's going to work for the 380 member schools that we have here. There's no one system that's going to be right, and I would imagine it's the same thing again in South Dakota. But
yes, not everybody's going to be happy. Yes,
right. And so I was looking at some of the enrollment numbers before you called because I just wanted to give myself a little bit of background info. But I see a program like God, I just walked away from my screen. This is great radio, isn't it? There's a program, Fruita Monument. Their enrollment is 1,796. They're ranked number 9 in our media poll rankings in 4A for football. But right below them at 1,745, and just to give you some reference, I think 1,830-something is the cutoff for 5A for the highest classification.
Okay, so they're close.
So 50 with 50 fewer students, Columbine is the number 2 5A team in the state. And so, there's a disconnect there, and I understand that Columbine is a Denver metro area school. They're in Jefferson County School District, ton of kids, very affluent area. Fruita Monument's on the western slope, right outside of Grand Junction, so they're kind of a landlocked area. They can't pull in kids from more districts, but it's one of those things that just doesn't compute well for me that those two teams are split that way. The one thing that I will say, and this is where I think the clock committee in Colorado and the CHAS office has it wrong, is they believe that every classification needs to have the same number of schools, or roughly the same number of schools. And I think that's wrong. I think you have fewer of those big enrollment, high-powered, Cherry Creek-style high schools, or even though their enrollment's not this high, Valor Christian, where Christian McCaffrey went to high school, you have fewer of those schools than you do a school like Manitou Springs, where I graduated, that has 400 kids, multi-sport athletes that are just being pulled in 15 different directions. So I think everyone says it's equity to have the same number, roughly the same number of schools in each classification. I think it's one of the most inequitable policies in place.
Yeah, because you got some power programs in Denver, and they're like, well, we get to go up against some other teams just because we got to have the same number of teams in each class, right?
You have Cherry Creek, who's won, I think, the last 4 5A state championships. They can't fill out their non-league schedule because no one in Colorado wants to play them now.
I believe that. Interesting. Colorado goes school by school, petition. You can move down. The classification committee makes the call. We don't have that in South Dakota. It's interesting. We got it. I'm trying to move the conversation forward to get something close to that at least. Dan Mormon on tonight. His site, Colorado Preps, coloradopreps.com. Good stuff, Dan. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Nate, reach out anytime. I'm always happy to talk college or high school sports administrative policy.
No, I appreciate that. We'll do it again. Dan Mormon on, editor-in-chief, coloradopreps.com here on the Nate Brown Show. Find him on X at Dan Mormon. Interesting stuff. So that's different. Okay, really interesting. There's different models you can do in high school classification. Okay, Colorado says enrollment, they use it as a benchmark. Here's where you're at. Boom, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A. Boom, there it is. Then you get it, and the school goes, oh boy, we're in 4A. We haven't won in 4A for this long. Can we go to 3A? And he even said you could go down, some schools want to go from 4A to 2A. And it's up to the classification committee. They look at it, free and reduced. They look at, we have free and reduced here, that model in ours as well. So they've added that. But the committee looks at it, and they make the call. I don't know if I like that one as good. It's interesting, though, because you have to look at it specifically. Each school, Douglas, Central, let's say Spearfish wanted to get in that mix. Well, the committee looks at all the factors. Should you go school by school or just have a formula? You haven't won this many games. You haven't done the postseason in 4 years. You're down. We'll continue the discussion. Scott Burt's on next from Iowa. Rapid City Rush head coach. The Rush start the season tomorrow. What does it look like? Scott Burt on the way.
Live callers, big-time interviews, and breaking sports news. This is the Nate Brown Show on Fox Sports Rapid City.
October is Renewal by Anderson's United Against Cancer campaign, and when Renewal offered to pay for employees' radon testing and mitigation, several Renewal team members found radon in their homes. Deb was one of them, and she always wondered how she got breast cancer. Radon causes cancer. It's linked to Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. Radon is a killer.
People don't know about radon. They don't know what a killer it is, and they don't know how cheap it is to have it tested.
From all of us at Renewal by Anderson, please get a radon test now. It could save your life.
We are number one. So you can always be their number one. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number one hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
Nearly 150 years ago, Americans didn't race across the plains to settle. They pioneered. They toiled and ground the land into the world we know today, creating opportunities, not just for themselves, but for future generations. Don't settle. Pioneer. Pioneer Bank and Trust. Local.
Member FDIC.
South Dakotans, due to the recent flood, hail, and windstorms, many of you have damage and are in need of making repairs. When it comes to making the decision of who to hire to complete the repairs, you should always check with the Department of Revenue to ensure they're licensed to do business in South Dakota. And you should check with Consumer Protection to see if any complaints have been filed against the company. And finally, never sign anything until you read all the details. Rule of thumb, when someone knocks on your door to sell you a product or service, they need to provide you with a 3-day right to cancel. Go to consumersd.gov and look under transient vendors or call 800-300-1986.
Live from the Anytime Auto Sales Service and Details Studio. Sales, service, and recreation. This is Fox Sports Rapid City.
The Nate Brown Show. We are live on Fox Sports Rapid City. A reminder, catch the Nate Brown Show podcast if you missed some of the interviews, some of the guests, some of the segments. The Nate Brown Show podcast, every show, all 2 hours. We are on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. The Nate Brown Show podcast available for you. You can listen when you can. Like one of our fans. He walks his dog in the morning and listens to the Nate Brown Show podcast. I like it. What a way to start your day. That's a beauty. All right. Here we go. We're starting the season. Rapid City Rush hockey. Look out. They've been working, grinding. They got some new guys in. The head coach is back, Scott Burt. He's on the road in Iowa. They play tomorrow night. Play tomorrow and Friday on the road with Iowa. Coach, good to get you back on the Nate Brown Show. How are you? Can you hear me? Maybe? I can't hear you.
Sorry, but yes.
Oh, there
yes,
you are. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. How are you, Coach?
Yeah, it's been a while, bud.
You guys are ready to go. How does it feel? Night before the game. You've done this a long time. Playing, coaching now. What do you feel tonight?
Yeah, you know what? It's guys are kind of relaxed. And we had two different groups at two different places. We went out and grabbed some dinner together, which is awesome. We arrived this morning here. We bussed last night. We practiced this afternoon, and then guys are ready to go.
Okay, from your standpoint, what did you learn from last year's run that you can take with you into the next year, Coach? You're always trying to learn. I know you've been in this game a long time. What did you take away from last year? Do these years translate from one year to the next with totally different teams?
Totally. And, we had our season ticket holder banquet last night, and when I got up and I talked, I mentioned that it's, as of yesterday, as of camp, when camp started on the 9th, it was 207 days since our last game. It was 215 games yesterday, 217 games, or 2 days ago, 217 games till we get going tomorrow night, right? So in those 217 days, there was an empty feeling in the stomach, obviously. So with that being said, as soon as the season ended, it was to the grind, right? So needed to figure out. I evaluated everything from the top to the bottom and needed to figure out what happened this past season and how can we improve and what do we need to do to improve. And in all honesty, I'm excited to see. I'm excited where we are right now, and we'll see what happens.
Rapid City Rush head coach Scott Burdon tonight. They're on the road starting the season tomorrow against Iowa, getting set for Rush hockey. It's already here. So last year was one of those years. You were chasing Idaho for a long time. Everybody was. I mean, Idaho had an unbelievable year, and you're very familiar with that organization. Do you think, when it comes to a team like that, do you think that the Mountain Division's going to be stacked again?
Well, you know what? They had a really good team. They were very, very deep, right? And, I mean, it took them all the way to the finals, right? But I think if you look at how we played them last year, we were pretty much in a lot of the games against them. And talking with a lot of coaches in our seminars and whatnot, even the Idaho coaches that I'm good friends with, we played them those last 3 games, and we played them hard, very hard. And that was really our season, right? We left some points on the board early, and that hindered us at the end of the season. With that being said, we came down to those final 3 games. We needed a little bit of help, but the way we played, it was unfortunate for us. Some injuries happened even that last series, right? But I thought that 2-1 game against them on the Wednesday was probably one of our best games. And talking with their coaches after, they straight up said that if we would have played them and they would have faced us, it would have been hard and tough on them. Just the way that we play against them. And a lot of coaches came up and said, hey, if you guys got in, you guys were a team to be reckoned with. Again, we left some points on the board earlier in the season and ran into some injuries like most teams do. And I thought, when we stacked up against them, maybe they were a little bit more deep, but we played them hard. And sometimes teams like that, maybe don't fight through some of the adversity. They pretty much had their team all year long. A lot of guys that really weren't injured, where we lost some guys for some significant times and some of our key players. And for us, it's figuring out what we need to do and working with Calgary and putting it all together, and we got a good group that we're excited about.
Rush hitting the ice tomorrow on the road at Iowa. Scott Burdon tonight before the game. So the team's makeup, I look at it and say, hey, some returning forwards here. Alex Eliardi, Jimmy Soper, Logan Nelson. Some Rush fans are going to say, okay, that's great. What's the team's makeup like here? How'd you put this roster together?
Well, if you looked at some of the players I brought in at the end of the season, they gave us a little zip. Blake Bennett scored back-to-back years at AIC, 20 goals. Brought in Charles Martin, a right shot D-man to run a power play. Brett Graval had a down year last year. Unfortunate for him, he went to Calgary's camp last year and broke a scaphoid bone in his wrist, and then halfway through the season he had shoulder injury. So he's back, he's healthy, and he looks really good. So if we can get him playing at the level he was 2 years ago, and he scored 29 for us, we're happy with that. Yamamoto has taken a stride this year. I'm looking for some big things from Whelan Parrish that came in. There's always something that happens around him in a good way. So, and then we added 2 goalies that we're going to see from Calgary system, and they're very high on these 2 goalies, Matt Radomski and Connor Murphy. And with that being said, we got two strong defensemen that we're very excited about, that have spent some time in the American Hockey League, some significant time in the American Hockey League. So those guys are going to help us out on the back end, right? And, again, you do that evaluation. Last year, towards the end of the season, I had a tough time trying to find a couple D-men that we could fill, some spots when we had guys go down. And we had to convert Keegan Iverson and Colton Leader from forward to play D. That's tough to do, right? Did it hinder us a little bit? Yeah, sure it did. Now we're at it. We have 7 deep defensemen, and we're very, very excited about that. With that, there's some decisions that have to be made, right? Are you in or are you out, right? Best guy's going to play at that time. So, and everyone understands. Everyone wants to be here. That's the crazy thing. Everyone likes each other. When I sit down, I talk with my captains in the leadership group. I ask them, I said, is there anyone that is kind of separating themselves out of the group? And some of the older players have said straight up, this is probably the tightest group that I've ever been across this early in the season. Now, can we continue that? I think so. Are we going to bring more players in when players are needed? Yeah, but they have to fit our culture. And with that being said, our leadership group will pull those guys in and mold that team. So we're excited. We're ready to go, and I hope we get off to a good start.
Let's get going tomorrow night. Before I let you run, Scott Bird, I'll let you go eat some dinner with the team. Iowa, you open up a couple of games here. What do we know about them tomorrow?
You know as much as I know. I don't know much about them. They had an exhibition. Yeah, they had an exhibition game against Fort Wayne that I watched the other night. But other than that, they had their team signed really early in the summer, and I don't know. We never played them last year. I know their coaches. Their head coach was a first-year head coach last year. He was an assistant coach when they came through Rapid City a few years back. So for us, it's about us. It's how we're going to do, how we're going to implement our systems, our structure, and then we'll figure out what we need to do. Our coaching staff, myself and Peter Dreckers, will figure out what we need to do if there's things that we need to do to change. But we want teams to change to the style that we play. And if we can do that, we can get out, and teams are now scrambling because we play a different style than some other teams. Now we're in a good spot, right? So for the first couple games, it's especially tomorrow, it's playing our systems, playing our way, and then we'll make the decisions that we need to make in the next couple days.
Rush Hockey is back on, and they are on the road at Iowa tomorrow. Opening home weekend next weekend for the Rush. Scott Bird on the Nate Brown Show tonight, and a Rush review, our first of the season. Coach, good luck, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh man, let's fill it. Let's fill it on the 27th, Nate. Let's get them. Let's get the fans out to the monument, and we'll do what we can to get things going tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Wish you the best. Looking forward to Rush Hockey. It's back. Rapid City Rush head coach Scott Bird on tonight. On the road to start tomorrow against Iowa, team that they really haven't played that much. And then the home opener next weekend, the 27th. Are we ready? We're ready. Scott Bird on tonight on the Nate Brown Show, Fox Sports Rapid City, your home for the Rush review all season long. We'll keep you plugged in on Rush Hockey. I'll tell you what, that's it for the Wednesday show. That's it. We're going to make you wait for 5 questions from Chris? We've just been packed. Yeah, I'm back tomorrow. And we got 5 questions from Chris tomorrow. Happy hour with Rob Kegron tomorrow. And the last regular season version mixed in with some playoff picks of Brown's Best and Kearney's picks on our high school football rank. We'll do it tomorrow on the Thursday show, the Nate Brown Show podcast going up right now. The Odd Couple's coming up. See ya.
This is